second.
Okay.
Notifications. Nothing yet.
All right. Well, if we are live, that's very exciting. We're getting resolving some technical issues, so
Yeah.
always very exciting. Let's see if I
Oh,
can.
there it is. There we
Oh my
are.
goodness gracious. Okay,
We got
good.
her.
We got her. Do we
We
look
got her.
normal? We look like human beings on a screen about to
I
talk video
mean,
games?
you look human.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great. I mean,
I look about as normal.
yeah,
You know.
face made for radio,
It's
for audio only listeners.
a face made for cave paintings. Less detail you can nab down, the better. Well, great.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get right into it. There's our intro music. All right. Hello and welcome to the GGG Podcast. I am Paul, and we're doing a live show. I am joined over here by Phil. Phil, are you excited for a live show?
I'm so excited for a live show. Last time I was live and did a show, well, this is a different thing, so I don't even want to talk about it. No, hey, welcome internet. Welcome to our live vibes. It's gonna be pretty fun, I
Yeah,
think.
absolutely. We got a lot of news to get through today. Not a
Mm.
lot of releases, but yeah, a lot of news to go through. And then for our main topic, we got a good look at Jump Ship, which IGN covered, and we're going to be talking about that and talking about co-op games in general. So
Yeah, yeah. I in lieu of new games that are releasing, or yeah, in lieu of new games, we have a bunch of free games, or yeah, all free actually,
yeah,
free with services. But
yeah. Sort
that's
of,
what we get
sort of
anymore.
free, sort of free. You know, like
Uh,
like it, like the, how everything on the internet is free, provided you're paying for an internet provider. So,
exactly.
yes, yeah.
But before we get there, Paul, what have you been playing this week?
I've been, it's still been kind of the usuals, but branching out a little bit more. Still been playing a lot of Helldivers. Another group of my friends has started playing Helldivers on top of the current groups of friends that I have playing Helldivers. So that's very exciting.
Mhm.
And I'm excited to talk about the Helldivers update that came out this morning. So I've been doing that. My girlfriend bought me Stardew Valley, and I think we're going to start a cooperative farm of the new farm that is available from the 1.6 update. And also, if you're a fan of Stardew Valley, you can check out our mini cast where we talk about the Stardew Valley 1.6 update with our guest Jordan Michael Whidbey. So, but let's see
Hey,
what else. What else
starting a
is there?
farm, that's a big step. It's a big step.
Yeah, it is. It's a huge step. It's a huge step.
Mhm.
So I started my own farm like at the basic area, just to just to figure the game out a little bit before I don't want to go in like a full noob. So, so yeah. And then I think that's no. You know what? I've been playing some Ghost of Tsushima. It pulled me back in.
Oh, great
all
game.
Yeah, all the Rise of Ronin uh, content that's been coming out, and then Shogun going on. It just
Mm.
made me want to play Rise of Tsushima, or Ghost of Tsushima.
I feel like Rise of Ronin, everyone's opinion is like cool. It's like it's it's like Ghost of Tsushima we have at home.
And the graphics are made that to look like
Rough.
it's on a PS3. Yay!
Why do they I'm you know what, I graphics are hard. I'm just sort of like, it was such a big release. It feels strange.
Yeah.
Uh
It's true. What about you?
well, this week I've been playing okay, hold on. I'm gonna check my exact time right now on
Okay.
Dragon's Dogma 2. Um 50 hours of Dragon's Dogma 2.
Ooh,
Uh and then a lot of Helldivers as well. Last
sure.
weekend, with the launch of some new weapons, I went in and I found my new favorite secondary weapon, which is the ion cannon.
Okay. Yes.
It's a it's like a charging weapon, so it never runs out of ammo, and it just shoots one big missile, but it takes a while. So if you really time it right, you can take down a drop ship if you hit it in one of the
Yeah,
engines.
you're talking about the quasar cannon?
Quasar cannon. I'm
Yes, the
sorry.
quasar
Get
cannon.
the
Okay, okay.
Yes,
Yes.
quasar cannon.
A great name for a gun. Really.
Yeah,
Mm.
just the- these. I feel like these developers at Arrowhead, they just have like the Doom sense of the '90s. You know what I mean? Like the Doom shotguns, like and then the BFG. Like they just have that vibe down
Hmm.
on top of the Starship Trooper stuff. It's all just like really perfectly curated. Uh, but yeah, no, Dragon's Dogma has been great. I'm probably getting close to the end game now, but I've really just taken my time and like using not too many rift stones and just walking from point A to point B since there's very limited fast travel.
Sure, sure.
Um, but the journey, the real reward is the pawns we meet along the way.
And the pawns you throw off a cliff.
Yeah, you gotta baptize them to make sure they're not getting all smart on you.
Perfect. All right. So that's a so mostly Dragon's Dogma. It sounds like.
Most yeah, mostly Dragon's Dogma. Probably a good 6 hours of Helldivers though, and man, what a 6 hours it was.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll get into Helldivers when we talk
Get
about
in.
the update a little bit. But
Yeah.
let's talk about our what free games. What first of all, there was a release yesterday, or maybe it didn't come out yesterday, but it was free on April Fool's Day. Uh,
Hmm.
so content warning was free on Steam for $0.00, and so you could claim it, and I did, and it was very much of this kind of Lethal Company vibe type game.
Hmm.
Have you seen anything about this?
Yes, I love the concept of this game, of like a lethal company that's kind of almost more built for goofs.
Sure. Yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, it's the bummer is if you missed out on it yesterday, it's not free anymore. But the bright side is that if you want to get it now, it's only $8,
yeah.
$7.99.
It is a cheap game. It's easy to jump into. I really like the aesthetic because it almost, like you said, it's for goofs, and so it's kind of like, hey, we know Lethal Company is for goofs. So what if we
Yeah.
just commit to the goof aesthetic? So so I don't know. I think maybe there's some potential there. We'll see if it gets a player base from people who picked it up yesterday who were aware. So
I kind of wonder if there's a strategy in releasing games like that. Like Lethal Company was on the cheaper side. This game is on the cheaper side. If they're releasing games that are kind of meant to be played in four-person groups
mhm.
at a lower price point, so like, all right, well, we know when we sell one, we're most likely going to sell actually four of these games, so we
Yeah,
can kind of lower the price of entry a little bit.
yeah. I mean
Um,
that's a great strategy for games like Party Animals and stuff like that.
yeah,
So yeah, well, right on. We'll see if that game picks up some steam, and we'll be sure to
yeah.
tell you about it if it does.
We'll have to
But
give it a shot. Scooting on down though, PlayStation Plus has three new games if you're on their basic PlayStation Plus membership. I believe all, well, I don't believe all of the different tiers of PlayStation Plus membership get this, but this is just what the base one gets you.
mhm,
Immortals of Aveum, which is a EA released spell first person shooter, or I guess first person spellcaster.
mhm.
Um, looks really fun, but I think a lot of people were like, single player campaign for $70. We'll wait on it. If you
Yeah,
waited on it, that's great for you because now it's free.
yeah.
Uh,
It's a pretty game. I'm gonna pick it up just because it looks pretty. To be honest,
yeah.
we'll see if it has more to it than that. We'll see. So
Sometimes a pretty game is all you need. Like
yeah.
that's enough of a. What was that? 1806, or like the werewolf fighting game for PlayStation
Oh my
3.
goodness, the Order,
The Order,
1870s,
80.
1886, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right. I love that.
Beautiful game.
Yeah, that game is like a freaking movie, but you can also just watch it on YouTube for free. So,
uh, after that, we have Minecraft Legends, which I feel a little too old to get, and then Skull, which is a kind of rogue-like side-scrolling adventure.
mm,
You play as like this little minion of some ancient evil lord defending your castle, but you have to like go out to do so. Looks really really fun. And then scooting on down to Game Pass in 2 days. Actually, no, tomorrow. Little Gator game comes out, which is a game about a little alligator and a bunch of his friends who are other little animals trying to convince little Gator's older sister to play imaginary games with them. So we have to go on this like imaginary quest and do all these cool things to show her, look, we rescued the princess, or we defeated the dragon.
Yeah,
Uh,
that sounds adorable.
yeah, it's yes.
It
From
reminds
what I
me.
heard, it's a
Go ahead.
okay. Go for it.
You go first.
Fine. From what I've heard, it's a lot like Breath of the Wild style. Like it's got glider, climbing, that type of action game, like very freeform.
Sure. Right on. Yeah, I was gonna say that it reminds me of being a kid again, where you get all these animal themed, the Spyro the Dragon, the Crash
Mm.
Bandicoot, all the Nintendo games and stuff like that, or Banjo Kazooie. There's another one. So definitely reminds me of that vibe.
Yeah, it feels very. I feel like looking at it, feels very Banjo Kazooie, uh, like aesthetic vibe. Uh, then Superhot, I think, is already on there, which is great. Great game. Superhot VR is also one of my favorite game experiences that I've ever had.
It's a great game. That's the slow mo.
Mhm.
The game moves as fast as you do.
Yeah,
Oh, what a great concept for a VR game.
right.
Yeah.
And then notable new addition, Ark Survival Ascended. We talked about this because it just came out. It is a re-release of Ark Survival, but it is completely remade in Unreal 5, so looks really really good. And I think it's just to tide people over until Ark 2 comes out. But if it's free on Game Pass, hey, go enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. I love free
Yeah.
things, and we want to make sure you know where the free things are, so you
Hmm.
can get them.
Yeah.
So yeah, all right. So that's it for Game Pass and PlayStation Plus for this month. Yeah, Phil.
I think that's it. Game Pass will probably have a couple more things later in the month, but sometimes they drop surprises on us, so I'll report them as they show up.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
um, well, moving right on to what a lot of people are talking about on the internet today is the Helldivers 2 update that came out just this morning. It addresses a lot of things. As usual, I continue to be impressed with the frequency of updates that this game is putting out. So before this update, we got the addition of the Quasar Cannon that we were just talking about, and the Heavy Machine Gun as 2 new weapons. And many people within the Helldivers community were speculating, if they're giving us new weapons for free, there's probably something bad coming. And oh boy, they were right.
Mhm.
First of all, I'd like to point out that we took Malevelon Creek on April Fool's Day. Think there's something there.
Oh, snap. Oh, no. Oh, bad.
I don't know how many people realize that.
Oops.
But we are major orders right now. We're on the bot front.
I'm messed up over what you just
Yeah,
said.
did I just blow your mind a little bit?
I heard recently that the GM or whatever of the game said that we were focusing too hard on Malevelon Creek, and that it was impeding our uh, overall war effort.
It was for real.
Mhm.
I was actually, a lot of my friends were like, we need to go fight on Malevelon Creek, and I'm like, that's not part of the major order. We need to follow orders, soldier. Look at this. We talk Helldivers. I haven't even gotten to the update yet.
They've created something so interesting with like the campaign unfolding as we're playing. Great.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that game gets right, and that is at the top of the list, is having the galactic war and the community and everything. But anyway, what is going on right now in this update is we have a new enemy type, and people are already calling it the AT-AT from Star Wars. So the Imperial Walker, it looks like a chunkier version of that is now in the game for the bots. And apparently,
Interesting.
they're also saying gunships for the bots have been added to the game, but I have not seen any videos of that yet, so there might be
I
something.
saw a video of it earlier today. The
Okay.
gunships are there, and they are unpleasant.
Okay, so there you go. Imperial walkers and gunships have been added to the game. There's also been a number of gun tweaks. I know that a lot of people were very into the rail cannon, and then it got a slightly nerfed, and like the breaker got nerfed and stuff like that. But they seem to be really figuring out, okay, what are the guns people aren't using? How do we make those guns better? And so there's a number of guns like the Dominator that has, I believe, explosive rounds. Like that's been upgraded. They've also increased the level cap from level 50 to level 150, which is a huge step up.
That's a big jump. That's a
and,
big jump.
And there is retroactive XP. So if you have been level 50 for some time now, you have been a SKul Admiral, you might log on today and realize, oh, you're actually level 63 because all of that XP that you've been earning, they've carried it over. So what a fantastic thing to do.
Yeah.
And a nice thing to do. So
this game, man, it's just like it's wins across the board. They're kind of making the right choice at every turn.
Yeah.
Very impressed.
Yeah, so I'm very excited. I'm a little terrified of the new enemies, but I know that means that it's our upgrade next around the corner. Maybe we'll get more mechs, the mechs with autocannons on them or something like that. That would
or like a cool little car would be great, like just to be able to get around a little faster.
Yeah.
I don't know if you covered this because I was looking up images of the new Walker. But they're adding sandstorms and snowstorms on different planets, which is probably an upgrade from the Firestorm, honestly, in terms of just enjoyability for me. I feel like the Firestorms did chase you, and that's pretty fun.
Yeah, the Firestorms on Hellmire with the save the people or evacuate the people objective. Oh my god, what a pain in the butt! Like, because you just have your civilians running through these fire tornadoes. So yeah, blizzards and sandstorms. I can't wait to see some Helldivers 2 Arrakis memes and videos going around. So yeah.
I really hope they add a Shai Hulud.
Yes, get some worms in there.
All right. Speaking of movie tie-ins, Predator Hunting Grounds is getting "quote unquote" revived. Wow,
it is. Yes. Are you excited? Are you a big Predator fan, Phil?
Well, I'm sad to say that I am. I do like Predator quite a bit.
That's okay.
I played the game. I think I only played like 3 or 4 matches. I think they had like a free weekend. So sort of my Helldivers group back in the day, we grabbed this game and all played. And it was a lot of fun. I think the thing that stopped us is like, we gotta buy this, huh?
Sure.
But the isometric multiplayer in that game is pretty excellent. So they are coming out with a PlayStation 5 and Xbox X version or an upgrade, and along with that some new Predators. That sounds really, really fun.
Yeah, it sounds great. Like this is a game, Predator Hunting Grounds. It is the official title. And this is a game that came out, I believe it came out in 2019, maybe 2020. And I think I got the PS4 version myself with a friend, and it was one of those games. I think it released at $40, so it was not a full price game because it was just a multiplayer experience, and we had a lot of fun with it. And the biggest problem with the game is that it lacked content, I think. And there has been some updates that I haven't personally played since I fell off of playing the game. But yeah, this is an upgrade to the modern console generation, and they're actually going to be adding content to the game to try and revitalize some of the player base. So it's not just now you get to play it in 4K, or maybe you could play it in 4K before, to be honest. But it's not just a PS5, Xbox Series X upgrade. It is we're putting new stuff in the game for players to come back, try to get the servers pumping a little bit again. And honestly, I think it's a great. It kind of reminds me of the what's that game we've talked about it. It was made by the Left 4 Dead developers.
Back 4 Blood.
Not Back 4 Blood.
Oh no, it's a.
It came out before that. Is when it was that Monster Hunter game where one player Evolve. I think that's what it's
Evolve. Yeah.
So it's kind of like Evolve, but of course, instead of being one player being a monster, they're just the predator. And it's really fun. It's really really
Yeah.
fun.
I think when Evolve came out, everybody was like, "Man, you know, be this cool as a Predator game," because you, in a sense, were like a predator. You were just like watching as they tried to come and hunt you, and then choosing your moment to like get someone who was isolated or setting
Right.
like little traps or
You're
doing a
like
roar in the
you're just
wilderness.
sitting in the bushes. Just please split up. Oh yeah, split up.
Please,
Yeah
yeah.
yeah yeah. Chase that squirrel.
Sounds like a good
Yeah.
sounds like a good idea. What was that? Yeah, very excited that's getting revived. I believe this was free on PlayStation Plus. If you're like me and you always just go in and download
Mhm.
everything, that means we should probably get the update for those of us who have it on there.
Yeah.
Probably something similar on Xbox. I'll have to look through the libraries to make sure. But hey, what a weird time for that, but what a fun game to get revived.
Yeah, it is a weird time for it, but you know why not? It's April. There's not a lot of games coming out in April, so I'm all for it. All right, so let's move right along. A little bit of I guess disappointing news. So there was a
Kind of discordant.
yes. so Discord, the incredibly popular video conferencing and video calling application that mostly gamers use, but it's used for a variety of purposes. Discord, there's a report that came out from the Wall Street Journal that they are probably going to start incorporating ads within the Discord application. And I know a lot of gamers out there, especially PC gamers, are going to be pretty bummed about that. We don't know exactly the details of how they're going to specifically incorporate their advertising. So, like, I don't know if you're going to be in the middle of a video call and then, you know, Whopper, Whopper, BK, Whopper, like, starts playing for whatever reason.
I wouldn't be mad at that one. I would like that one.
So I don't know, but they're apparently looking at models like what Twitch does,
Mhm.
and trying to determine exactly what they're going to be doing with that. So yeah, I'm not thrilled about that. How do you feel about that, Phil?
Um, that's a real big a kick in the heart for me, dog. No,
Ow.
yeah, I don't really know how Discord is gonna give you ads outside of interrupting your video calls, which you know, will have implications for this podcast. We will have to find a way around uh
Sure. Yeah.
the cool Whopper ads that pop up.
Yeah.
But um yeah, I guess it probably makes the idea of people buying the Turbo subscription a lot
Yeah.
more inviting. Because I feel like they've been trying to get a way to get people to do it with a carrot, and now they're whipping out the stick of ads.
Yeah.
In a sense, I get it. Discord has been a really useful and cool application that has been free for so long.
Mhm.
Um, that you know, I understand that they might have to do it. I just wish that they didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat. I know that there was a report that came out that the Discord actually laid off about 170 employees, and
Ouch.
they are not a humongous company. I think it's, let's see, that made up 17% of their workforce. Um, so they're at kind of, and the reason that the Wall Street Journal is reporting on this is because they're looking at their finances, and they're just at the point where I don't think they're going to be able to sustain what they're doing financially anymore.
Hmm.
So there needs to be something that happens. I believe that the Nitro subscription, Discord Nitro, is $9.99 a month right now, which,
That's too much.
yeah, I agree. It is too much. So if you are going to do ads, I don't know. There might be like a cheaper version. I'm not exactly sure on the pricing. I remember seeing it for $2.99 at one point, but I just haven't seen that for a long time. So if there's different price points, like I know Netflix does, you know, Netflix with ads is like
Hmm.
$7 or $8 now, and then Netflix without ads but no 4K is like $16, and then Netflix no ads with 4K is $25. So if they're probably gonna look at some price point like that, which is pretty unfortunate. But if they can keep like Discord like a low subscription of like $5 or less a month, I'd be willing to do that. I think that's reasonable. And yeah, like I like Discord as an application, and I would like it to continue to be there. So I'll cough up some money. I guess.
$3 would be like the sweet spot for me.
Yeah.
A little bit more than that, I'd be like, but $3 would be right in that zone. Yeah, understandable, but bummed.
but disappointing nonetheless.
Disappointing. Come on. Should we talk about our next story? Because I have feelings about it.
Please.
Okay. Nintendo Switch is they were used in an April Fool's joke by IGN that they were making a VR Virtual Boy 2 console. This is dumb. This is just stop doing April Fool's jokes. We're adult. We're grown-ups now.
Everybody did an April Fool's joke yesterday. Come on. What are you talking about? Helldivers did an April Fool's joke. They posted on their Twitter. Helldivers 2 posted on their Twitter. They were like, "We're coming out with democracy dollars. You'll be able to use democracy dollars to purchase all medals and all unlockables within the game." That was their.
That's actually really funny. Okay. IGN stopped. They peaked when they did the Harry Potter like sequel show years ago. It was called it was like going to be a gritty crime show about the auras. Kind of a funny little gag, but also I think that was the first one that I saw that I was like, this is immediately an April Fool's joke. This is too stupid to exist.
I'll be honest, for the first 20 seconds, I was like, there's no way. They're making this, like, so it got me for a second. When you brought up IGN, I was thinking of the Zelda movie from like 10 years ago. The trailer. Oh my goodness.
Is that an April Fool's though? Because now it's going to be a reality.
I think 10 years ago it was an April Fool's.
they pranked their way into existence.
But, it was kind of like concept video, and so like, not know.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Like, because I think it was, it's definitely funny. I think they just had nothing else, I guess, this year, because this seems pretty.
Well, Phil, for those people who have not seen the video, could you break down a little bit what the video was?
Yeah. Okay. it's someone attaching like a regular Nintendo Switch to their head, and then like pulling the controllers off and using those as like VR controllers. And what shows is pretty cool. It's like a lot of AR technology, much like the Super Mario or the Mario Kart like remote control game. Have you seen that?
I believe so. Yeah. Where you can race around your house and whatnot. Yeah.
Race around your house. But it's got like Mario jumping around on your cabinet and like interacting with real things in the area. And one of the jokes was that the actual person's landlord was coming up to them and requesting money, but it was breaking it down in like Tom Nook speak for Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was one of the things I saw. I was like, come on, you guys, are we doing this? Do something better. I don't. Maybe it was just inoffensive enough to be good. I might have just been at work and it might have been early.
I think maybe you were just like, can you just show me what the new Switch is like? And instead of this, like, could you just get to the announcement? Like, we were supposed to have it. It's officially April. We were supposed to get some sort of Switch announcement in March.
True.
So that is interesting that we've kind of crossed that line a little bit. So I still think it's probably going to come out this year, though.
I sure hope so. I'd like a sort of Christmassy surprise for this game would be, or for this console would be, heaven sent. But here's the other scary thing. It didn't seem like it was incredibly impossible for Nintendo to do this.
Yeah, it was like they put money into that commercial. And it, to the point of like, we were just talking about the Zelda movie. It's kind of like, this might be a proof of concept for something that they could do. It won't be as ridiculous as this, but they might do it. Like,
I've seen Nintendo pull things out of the past in a way that is less insane than a Virtual Boy 2. So,
Right.
uh, just a quick disclaimer: Nintendo, don't do it. Don't do it.
Please don't
Just
do
give
it.
us another Switch.
Just give us another Switch. That would be great.
Oh,
And then have that Switch incorporate this. Anyway, moving on.
no.
Your favorite game of the week, Phil, has made it into
Mhm.
our news yet
That's
again.
right.
Last week we talked about Dragon's Dogma 2, but this week we're talking about it because it is selling like crazy. Are you at all surprised that it's selling so well?
Um, n- yes, because the first one was such like kind of a sleeper hit.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it was in a bit way ahead of its time because we didn't have a Monster Hunter World before Dragon's Dogma 1.
Mhm.
Um, we didn't have games with kind of as intense survival and like RPG mechanics on the mainstream yet. I think now there's so many more gamers, so many new gamers that have had this vast array of experiences that this sort of like all of these features together is something that a lot more people are comfortable with.
Sure.
Uh, so I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see that it got past sort of the weird DLC and performance issues
Mhm.
that it was having, or at least it got around that in the zeitgeist. People were like, yeah, but the gameplay is really good. So
Yeah, people seem to absolutely love the gameplay. Um, so right on. And
yeah,
just so we have a number for you guys for reference. So Dragon's Dogma 2 has so far sold 2.5 million copies. So those are some good sales numbers. Especially
pretty nuts.
yeah, because a lot of people did not have Dragon's Dogma 2 on their radar before the last couple weeks. So
Yeah,
uh,
I was watching a video about this. Alana Pierce, who used to be IGN person,
mhm.
now writer for Sony Santa Monica, was she does like videos about all sorts of different stuff. She was talking about Dragon's Dogma 2 specifically, and how the freak out over the DLC was kind of like what she calls a fake gamer thing, where people who don't actually play games but just want to get on like the hype bandwagon of hating something
Sure.
freak out about something. And the DLC was definitely one of those things because she said like, "Oh, Capcom's been doing this. It did it in Resident Evil 4, did in Devil May Cry." Um, like there are actual things to be upset at inside of Dragon's Dogma 2, but the
Right.
DLC was just like, this is the least offensive thing. Why
Yeah.
are we getting all upset about this? But you know, people like their rage bait.
They do. Ah, the internet.
Ah,
All right. Pressing right along. So we got Halo Infinite back in controversy
ooh,
because they couldn't leave us alone. So, as we have discussed on previous episodes of the GGG podcast, the yappening is happening right now. It is a Halo Infinite event, and throughout the yappening, there's going to be different like game modes that are released. You know, the store is switching over a lot, and people took to Twitter yesterday and today to really comment and kind of call out the outrageous cosmetic prices that are happening in the game. And just for a point of reference, so you have to like buy Halo Infinite currency within the game, and I believe the conversion rate to dollars is like it's 1,000 points for $10. I do believe if you have Game Pass, you get like $1 off of all of the currency. So it would be $9 technically if you already had Game Pass, but then you're paying for it in a different way through Game Pass. So we're not going to count that. So we're just going to say 1,000 points is $10. So there are many armor sets and packages that are, you know, cosmetic sets. Like to get a full set of armor, one of the most expensive items on the store is 2,400 points, which would be $24 for one armor set. And for also for reference, for packages that are like in the 1,000 point range, the $10 range, that's like an accessory to a chess piece and a skin. So it's not even a full outfit for $10. It's an accessory to a chess piece. You don't get the chess piece. This is an accessory to put on a chess piece, and then you get So,
Why?
yeah, exactly. And I think that honestly, we've joked a lot about the yappening, but
Mm,
the event has actually generated some positive feedback online. And so people have been getting back in the Halo Infinite servers and playing around. And to have this happen with these outrageous microtransactions, it's just like, God, Microsoft, you're really taking the wind out of your own sails here. Like, can you
hmm
just, what are
Just
we doing?
absolutely nabbing defeat out of the jaws of victory. Um, yeah, I think I was looking at some of the stuff on there from this Twitter post. 1,600 points, so it's 16 American dollars for like an armor set on a game that what is the mindset here? That there's so many people playing, or that there's not enough people playing that I think no one would notice, or that there's so many people playing that they're like, oh, people love Halo so much they're gonna get this stupid bubbly looking armor for $16.
I really don't know. I mean, I think you have to think about your player base. And when you're like a free to play game, who's going to be playing you the most is it's kids. Kids are going to be
Mhm.
playing you the most because they didn't have to get their parent to shovel out the money. And, and so then again, like we've talked about, like I brought this up with Skull and Bones many weeks ago. It's just like, why are you trying to get so much money up front? It's like you're much more likely, a kid is much more likely to get their parent to buy them a $5 skin pack
Mhm.
than something that costs 16, 20, 24, $25 for
Yeah.
for a cosmetic. It's not like a new mode or a DLC. It's not. It's a cosmetic. So it's again.
Well,
Go ahead.
the the volume that you move a $5 skin versus a $16 skin at is like you were gonna get. I would wager to say at least like 10 times the amount of people who are like, oh yeah, $5, okay, and throw that down. Like that's one of the reasons that gas stations have their prices at like $4.39.
Mm-hmm.
It is the three before the nine makes people think it's a lot less money, even though it's like 9 and 8/9 of a penny.
Yeah.
Um, that's just the general mindset of how to move things like that
But
to your
Phil,
basic
but
consumer.
Phil, 1,000 points is only $9.99. It's not $10. It's nine
True,
ninety
that's
nine.
that's a net of 1 point, one free penny point.
um,
I
yeah, it's just
Man, Halo Infinite.
yeah, it's and like we've recently complained about Diablo's cosmetics, and
Mhm.
now like they're under the same umbrella. So I don't know if I do know, like I was raised in the Seattle area, the Bellevue area where Microsoft is, and I grew up around like lots of kids of people who worked at Microsoft, and so there's a part of me that, and I'm totally speculating, but there's a part of me that thinks it's like, those kids, like their parents made a lot of money, and it's like there's a lot of money pumping through Microsoft. Aside from Xbox, Microsoft is doing fantastic as a company overall,
Mhm.
and so they just might have a different understanding of what a lot of money is, and so
True.
to them it could be like these employees who are working there might think, yeah, why wouldn't you spend $20 on a cosmetic? That's a very reasonable thing because
Yeah,
they're in a different economic bracket than a lot of people who are playing their game. So
that's 1 cup of coffee.
yes.
Sure, it's made with the blood of a coconut. What? What? What?
Coconuts bleed. Oh my gosh.
For rich people, they do.
Oh my god. Yeah, wow. Those genetically altered coconuts.
Can my coconut scream when I cut into it? I'd like to pay extra for it to do so.
All right.
Um,
Well,
yeah, let's move along.
yeah,
Let's
let's
get
move
out of here.
along. Phil, do you wanna talk this next some details for this next story?
Yes, Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra has some details emerging from the game. For those of you who don't know, it is a World War II game where you are playing as a couple different characters. I'm thinking primarily Captain America and the Black Panther at the time, who
Mhm.
is T'Challa from who most of us knows, I believe, father, um, or maybe grandfather. Gosh, I don't know how far it goes back.
Could be
Uh,
grandfather, honestly.
Could be.
Yeah.
But it is a single player story driven adventure written by Amy Hennig's writing team. Um, Fun fact, I'm sort of buddies with, I don't know if you watch Star Trek, the newest Star Trek,
Discovery or
Picard.
I have not seen Star Trek Picard. No.
There's a new sort of standout captain played by Todd Stashwick, who is really good friends with Amy Hennig.
Okay.
He helped write on Forspoken, kind of, I guess, kind of a bummer in terms of that one didn't get the reception, but I believe he's on the writing team for this. So it just means that Amy Hennig has assembled a team of people she really jives with, and
Yeah.
and is creating this new game, which I'm very excited for. It looks beautiful. I believe they're
Yes.
using uh, what Unreal 5.6
Mm-hmm.
or 5.4
Yeah.
for their facial animations. Very excited about this game. Paul, what are you thinking about 1943?
I mean, I think like cinematically, it looks absolutely fantastic. And like, I love Amy Henning. She, for those who don't know, she worked on the Uncharted games. She didn't do all of them, but she worked on the earlier Uncharted games. And for me, like those games were really where I was like, oh my God, you can have a video game be this cinematic experience where at times it almost feels like a movie. And I know she was working on another Star Wars game that ended up getting canceled that I was disappointed about. But the fact that she's working on something Marvel, it kind of gives me a little bit of hope for the Marvel gaming universe.
Mhm.
Because really, Avengers flopped. I think we've talked about that there was something there with Avengers, but
Mm.
the community hated on it so much that it was just never going to go anywhere, and it wasn't ready when it released. So
Yeah,
it's really like Insomniac really feels like the only company that's keeping Marvel games afloat right now, and I'm not counting like Marvel phone games and Marvel Snap and stuff like that.
I will give it up to Square Enix's Guardians of the Galaxy game because that game
Oh,
was great.
yes, yes.
But I feel like it often gets forgotten, right? Like it's one of those things where we think of Marvel games and Avengers is the big one to come up, Spider-Man is the big one to come up.
Right.
Of course, we got the upcoming Wolverine game, but that game, I guess, didn't do well enough financially, and Square Enix is notorious for this, for being like, we thought Hitman Go would sell 7 billion copies, and it only sold 18 million, so we've considered it a flop. Uh,
Yeah,
but
I totally agree.
yeah,
Guardians deserves to be on there. I would even like say that Marvel's Midnight Suns was a good game, but it is
yeah,
certainly they're certainly not throwing that into any sort of gaming cinematic universe.
yeah.
So yeah, there's some out there, but this is interesting because they're doing it as a single player game, which I really like. It means that they can actually tell me a good story as opposed to trying to work in, games as a service and microtransactions and all of this stuff. So, like, I would have liked to have seen some like in-game footage, some gameplay, but I'm sure we'll get that with time. But
Yeah.
I have a lot of faith that this will be good. So,
The of the cinematics they've released, there's a particularly cool scene with Captain America confronting Black Panther. It is T'Challa's grandfather uh, on like a bridge where they're about to do something, and it just looks so good. And I don't know. It's always I feel like Marvel's in this place too right now where they're kind of having a lull. Like people are feeling a little bit of oversaturation. Probably a lot of oversaturation with comic book stuff.
mhm.
Um, but this take seems like something we haven't seen too often. Like a more in-depth version of like Captain America's adventures in World War II, as well as adding in like a former Black Panther. Uh, really excited to see how this game turns out.
Yeah, I think kind of what you just mentioned. Like, I think the time period is really smart because this is very isolated. It's like Black Panther exists, Captain America exists. I'm sure there'll be some bad guys, Red Skull or something in there.
Mm.
But it's like we're not. I'm not worrying about the universe right now. We're just doing our own story that can be contained so that we have kind of creative control. And as a writer, that's the best place to be, where you don't have to consider all of these other things. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. I also think that them using Unreal is probably what they're going to be doing with all of their games going forward, because we talked about how Disney bought a stake in Epic.
That's true.
So
yeah,
I think that is going to be how it is they are going to be using Unreal Engine. And frankly, I haven't seen another engine to rival it. So.
Yeah, it's Unreal when it's up and chugging. Holy smokes, it looks great. Eliza P, for like such a small developer, looks so good because they used Unreal 5. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Last on the news, you do it, Phil. You take it.
Okay. Mech Warrior 5 Clans, baby. That's right. Mech Warrior, the game that I used to buy giant computer game boxes with the fold open case.
Yep.
You open it up. There's a manual about this big and a CD in it. Mech Warrior 5 Clans is back. So this is not the first of the Mech Warrior 5 games. Paul, you were telling me a little bit more about this.
Yeah.
Because there is a Mech Warrior 5
Mercenaries
game out right now. Yeah.
Yes. It came out back in 2019, I want to say. But yeah, this game looks like it's more focused on a single player story than just to be like a PvP or a PvE, Mech Warrior game.
I am kind of wondering, because we've had a couple of like mech hits in the past couple of years. I guess most specifically, Fires of the Rubicon, was that called? The FromSoft
Armored
game.
Core.
Armored Core launched to a bigger audience than I think it's ever had. But Mech Warrior for me is like the OG that started off. It felt like you were driving a tank more of the time. Like you really had to consider the weight of your vehicle and like all the lasers and like walking through little buildings. Like it just felt like you were more part of the world. So I'm excited to see that, and excited to see like a single player game. This might just be me, but sometimes when there's multiplayer competitive games that launch, I get a little intimidated to like fully get involved with them, because I know I'm going to get such a bad feeling when someone absolutely stomps my behind.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's very, very valid. It can be very intimidating. I mean, like, I know for me, like, that's what's kept me kind of out of like Apex Legends. I had, when that game first launched, I had a lot of friends playing it, and I was just like, I don't know. But then again, like Battle Royale is just not really my genre personally. So
yeah.
But yeah,
are you excited for this one?
Yeah, very excited. Like similar to you, like I've known about Mech Warrior has been around for a long time. I was telling Phil right before we went live that I actually played it at my grandfather's house on his rig, like when I was like maybe 6 years old, maybe 5, something like that. And he really enjoyed it, but he was also a tank driver in the military, so I'm sure there was a little crossover for it there. So I'm excited for it, and like go check out. They have like a little bit of a cinematic trailer for Mech Warrior 5 Clans, and usually these games, they're not the highest budget games, and so I'm kind of surprised that there was any cinematic trailer at all. So if you're interested in mechs, you like mech games, check this out. Very much worth checking out.
Mech it out, baby.
Mech it out. All right, but
that's it for the news, huh?
That is it for the news.
We did it.
We did it almost. We got to get to our main topic before we wrap up our live show for episode 27. And the main topic today, we wanted to talk about this game that really just got shown today. It was seen at GDC, the Game Developers Conference. IGN did a spot on it. They posted on it's on the front page of IGN.com right now. But Jump Ship has been announced, and it looks pretty cool, although it does look like a lot of other games I've seen before, but it seems like it's kind of taking what a lot of games have done and kind of going to the next level with it. And
Yeah,
so, like, have you seen the trailer for this game, Phil?
I have.
What are your initial impressions just from the trailer that came out?
From the trailer, it looks like something that is going to be a lot of fun with friends
Hmm.
and something that will require like a pretty hefty amount of teamwork in a way that I enjoy. You know,
Great.
or I guess what's the right word is like it requires like more focus. Like, okay, you do your job, I do my job, we get this thing done.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, I think it's like a whole nother genre of games that's kind of coming out. Like, obviously, yeah, the four-person cooperative game, I think, really, it wasn't the first game to do this, but really Left 4 Dead, like, kind of made it, oh, okay, this is like a viable genre and multiplayer type. And like seeing all of these games that have come out recently and not so recently, um, it's for those who haven't seen the trailer of Jump Ship. It's essentially, you are with a crew of your friends, so it's a four-person game, and you have a spaceship, and you go on a mission where you have to like stay in the spaceship, make sure that it's working. You'll have like dogfights and space battles and that kind of a thing, but then you also land on planets, or star bases, to do your missions, and then it becomes a first person shooter of, I'm taking out these pirates, or I'm taking out these enemy robots, or stuff like that. And so it really kind of gives the sensation, for those fans of like the Star Wars The Bad Batch, or Star Wars The Clone Wars, or Star Wars Rebels, any of those animations, like that feeling of, we're a squad and we're going in to do a job. And so it's a
yeah,
similar vibe of like Helldivers, or Sea of Thieves, or Deep Rock Galactic. Void Crew is very close to this game. I've brought up Void Crew several episodes ago, and
mm,
it feels very close to this game. But this game, it like lets you land on planets and do full missions that way, and I think that's what takes it to the next level for me.
yeah. It looks like a lot of it looks like all those things kind of put together. And this is what I love about games is we get like iterative versions of things. So like Assassin's Creed 1 was fun. Assassin's Creed 2 was where they got it.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, I kind of like it when games don't do necessarily anything super new, but they do a bunch of things that other games have done really well.
Yeah.
Um, this looks like if it has that, I feel like my immediate attraction to it is something that I think the IGN coverage said that it was part FTL, part Void Crew, or part what are the games that they listed?
I believe
Uh,
they compared it to FTL and Sea of Thieves were the two. Yeah.
FTL, yeah. Which FTL is a game that has a lot of like crunch and like you have to pay attention to your shield and you have to do all this. And Sea of Thieves has a lot more silliness, but a lot less like specifics, and it feels like consequence for what you do.
Sure.
Um, so I'm excited to see this like kind of blending of those two. I'm also a big fan of sci-fi, and yeah, just this sort of like, okay, I'm really good at piloting, so I'm gonna do that. You run the ship or you run the guns.
Right.
This is something that I'll talk about again too much, but Helldivers does really well, where you equip your loadout, so you're like, I'm the glass cannon, okay? I don't have the shield backpack on,
Mm-hmm.
but I can do a lot of damage really quickly.
Right.
Um, and you have like your specific job that you do in each mission. So yeah, I think we're living in a really like I was trying to like quantify in my head why co-op games of this type are hitting this new zone right now. And I because I feel like we've had it since we first had raids in video games, right? Like
Sure. Yeah.
we're all going in for one thing and we're like we have to use a lot of cooperation and teamwork to get it done. Um, we've had things like Overcooked that require a lot of like timing and communication.
Sure.
And now we're blending in like action games and first person shooters and like really intense stuff with or really like I guess popcorn game entertainment
Mm-hmm.
along with these very cooperative, very collaborative mission experiences. Because even if you're playing like a Call of Duty game multiplayer with your friends, most of the time you're just all running around and shooting people,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're not really doing anything too much together.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like we've all kind of gotten over that a little bit.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I wanted to open up the discussion a little bit wider with, where like it just feels like all of like this specific genre of game, it almost feels like you're clocking in for like your second job kind of a thing. Not that they necessarily take up that much time like a second job, but it's kind of the format of the game. In Helldivers, I gotta go fight the Galactic War, and so it's this structure of this is a mission based, repeatable raid like structure. And or like Deep Rock Galactic is like we're going in to do a job. And so now with this game, with Jump Ship, we're actually incorporating all the different levels of that. And so it's like I love that it feels like a little bit of Left 4 Dead slapped into Void Crew. Like that is so fantastic. So like for me, like Sea of Thieves, like I like Void Crew a little bit more than I like Sea of Thieves, because like I get to have that Star Trek element of like there's the guy in the engine room screaming that there's fires all over the place, and he can't jump us to hyperspace just yet, so we need to stall a little bit, and there's the guy on the guns, and like you got to switch, and like I
Mhm.
I feel like Void Crew's level of the ship, mechanics, they're not as severe as like FTL, but
Mhm.
FTLs are a lot more complicated because that's pretty much all the game is those
Yeah.
technical aspects of keeping your ship running. Um, and so I think this is a great game, a great concept. But yeah, I think there's kind of been this trend switching away from battle royale games toward these more cooperative games. And I think the thing that really has woken up a lot of people is Helldivers. I feel like there's a younger generation of gamers who are like, I thought if you were playing online multiplayer, you had to be playing Call of Duty Warzone, or you had to be playing Fortnite. And now they're like, oh, I could play a cooperative game and not, be intimidated by like running in and getting my ass beat immediately.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, yeah, I do like the idea of like, just having a game where you do your chat catch up with friends for sure. But then all of a sudden something happens and you're like, we have to all talk about what's going on in the game right now because the engine room is on fire and I need you to open the doors in there to suck all the fire out. It's one of my favorite things from FTL. Or like when people would get on your ship and you'd lock all the doors around them and then open the door into space.
hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think I don't know. I think co-op type of games. I find that I have less and less time for like single player games because I feel like I have less patience to just sit down and play a single player game for a long amount of time,
Yeah,
despite what my time in Dragon's Dogma 2 says.
sure.
Um, but when I can kind of knock out two birds with one stone and be social and hang out with my friends, in a way that like no one's getting particularly mad because it's not like I just killed one of my friends, or, like
Right.
we're all sort of in this experience together. Um, I hope that this is like a future that a genre that like not even say gets more supported because I feel like we're getting a lot of support, but I just hope that we get more people who hop on and enjoy. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the social component is so huge. Like, there's definitely times where like I'm not gaming, and I won't necessarily like even feel like gaming. But if somebody messages me to get on or something, like, I'm like, well, I should be social. And so
Mhm.
that's the thing that gets me on the game. It's not that
Yeah.
I really want to play the game. It's that this is something that I can do with my friends. It's an activity, and
Mhm.
I can be social and we can have some fun.
Yeah.
And so I think with competitive games, and obviously like people who play the battle royales and everything like that, and very competitive games, like you get that too, I'm sure, with your friends. But I think there's less like there's less disdain when you lose because you're not actually getting your butt kicked by an actual person.
Yeah.
It's just that you just lost the level and it happens. so
Yeah.
so
And
yeah.
and you did it with friends. You all lost together. So it's like,
Yes.
oh, all right, let's lick our wounds and get back out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I feel like one of the first moments that I noticed this was a thing, or like sort of the social space of gaming, was during the pandemic and not Fallout, why Fallout? Animal Crossing, New Horizons.
Right.
What
Yeah.
was the, yeah, where people would like have FaceTime like sort of meetups or like friend hangs in Animal Crossing because we were all in lockdown,
Right.
and you
Yeah.
just go over to someone's island and they'd be on the phone with you and like, this is my peach tree, and like, uh, that's one of the times when I realized like, oh yeah, this is a social thing. Among Us was another game that it was like you're chatting with your friends, you're having a good time, and occasionally you need to talk about who the murderer is. But I do think that because of the lockdown and because of like how we've all gotten a little bit more comfortable with gaming in that social setting,
Yeah.
um, this is probably going to be the next big trend. Because you know, like there was the add multiplayer into every game trend,
Yes.
add microtransactions into every game. We're in the good sweet spot right now, but then EA is going to come along and be like, only $5.99 to play with people on your friends list, and it's gonna suck. But
Oh my god, I hope that never happens. Yeah, I think the social component is so huge, and so like maybe it's not just about being a co-op game; it's about being a social game. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's a big pusher, and then like I guess one of the things that stood out to me was in IGN's description of Jump Ship, and in the own company's description of Jump Ship, because they quoted the company. Uh, it's they compared it to Sea of Thieves and FTL. But I feel like there are so many other games out there, and we've already named several of them that are
Mhm.
like very, very close to this formula. And it kind of
Yeah.
made me think, like, oh wow, there's actually a lot of four-player co-op games out there in the market right now, and this is another one that's coming. Do you see this as like something like a genre that could overthrow like battle royale or like a competitive shooter or anything like that as far as like most popular game?
I definitely see like four-player co-op becoming a genre that uh will at least be like games will be categorized like on Steam pages and store pages under that. Um like people will know that, oh, I like FPS games. I like four-player co-op, like our team-based, squad-based co-op.
Right. And
Um
we already see that a little bit now in like, you know, the genre descriptions. So
yeah. I don't know. I think we're living in a really exciting time for gaming that we're kind of living the dream a lot of us had when we first played Xbox Live
yes.
years ago,
Yes.
uh, where it's kind of becoming something that is a little bit more ingrained into our lives, and companies are figuring out how to play with us. I think for this one, they said they have an AI director
Yes.
that kind of orchestrates things similar to the living director for Helldivers 2. Um, the one of the things that I really liked from one of the gameplay footages that I saw, or pieces of gameplay footage, was people on the ground doing stuff, and then the ship flying around with like enemies chasing them. So it's, man, I love the idea of like, all right, I'm coming in to do a pickup, but you got to be right here because there's people on my ass.
Yeah.
It's gonna create so many great moments.
Well,
Um,
if you can't wait, you can do that in Void Crew. So we still got to play that at some point.
that's true. We do. I gotta buy it. I'm putting it on my wish list right now.
Well, when's your birthday? Well, don't say that right
Yeah.
now.
Let me just talk to myself real quick.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for our live episode of the GGG podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. We would really appreciate it. We are only 12 subscribers away from 300 subscribers on YouTube, which is very exciting, up to 288. So we would love that. But if you are also listening to the audio only version over on Spotify or wherever you download your podcast, you can like and subscribe to us there as well. We probably will not be doing a live episode for our next week's podcast, but we hope to maybe do live episodes for specific events that are happening in gaming, particularly over the summer, where a lot of companies do their directs instead of doing E3. So be on the lookout for that. Any other little words of wisdom to share before we go, Phil?
Sometimes you just gotta let Malevelon Creek go. Whatever your Malevelon
Wow.
Creek is,
Shots fired.
sometimes you just gotta move past it. They're gonna take something from us, Paul. Now that they've given one,
Yeah,
you've
I don't.
completely redefined how I think about Helldivers too.
I don't. Joel, Commander Joel, man, you just I don't know what he's up to. So yeah, very scary. All right, peace out, everybody, and we will see you next week.